I gambled for 18 years. I lost over $300,000. I lost my marriage. I nearly lost my kids. I tried to stop more times than I can count. Willpower didn't work. Promises didn't work. Swearing on my children's lives didn't work. I'd stop for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month if I was really trying. And then I'd be back in that casino parking lot at 11 at night telling myself just one more time. My name's Dennis. I'm 68 years old. I've been clean from gambling for 7 years, and today I'm going to tell you the 5 things that actually helped me stop. Not the things that were supposed to help. Not the advice people give you who've never had an addiction. The things that actually worked. For me. After 18 years of failing at everything else. Before I get into the 5, let me tell you where I was when I finally stopped. Because the 5 things don't mean anything unless you understand how far gone I was. I was 61 years old, divorced, living in a 1-bedroom apartment above a dry cleaner. My son Danny hadn't spoken to me in 2 years. He'd told me he'd rather have no father than have me. My daughter Rachel was the only family member still in my life. I had $4,200 in my bank account. That was it. No savings, no retirement, no house. I'd burned through everything. And I was still going to the casino, even then, even with nothing left. I was playing $10 blackjack because that's all I could afford, sitting at that table like a ghost. The host didn't call me anymore. The free room stopped. The platinum status was gone. I wasn't a VIP. I was just another broken man feeding his last dollars into a system that had already taken everything. That's where the 5 things start, from the bottom. The first thing that helped me stop was someone else's story. I'd heard about Gamblers Anonymous for years. Linda had mentioned it. My brother Greg had printed out a meeting schedule and left it on my kitchen counter once. I'd always dismissed it. I didn't need a room full of strangers telling me their problems. I wasn't that bad. That's what I told myself. I wasn't that bad. Even when I was that bad. Even when I was worse. I went to my first meeting because I had nowhere else to go. It was a Thursday night, a church basement on the west side of town. Folding chairs, bad coffee, about 15 people. I sat in the back, didn't say a word, just listened. And a man stood up. His name was Bill, 72 years old, gray hair, quiet voice. And he told a story that made my blood run cold. Because it was my story. Different names, different city, same casino, same lies, same wife who couldn't take it anymore, same son who walked away, same number. His was $280,000, mine was $300,000, close enough to be brothers. When Bill finished talking, something cracked inside me. Not in a dramatic way, not some movie moment where the music swells, just a quiet crack, like a wall I'd been leaning against for 18 years finally giving way. Because for the first time, I realized I wasn't unique. I wasn't special. I wasn't the only man who'd done this to himself and his family. There were rooms full of us, all over the country, all with the same story. And if Bill could stop, if this 72-year-old man could stand up in a church basement and say he'd been clean for 9 years, then maybe I could stop too. Hearing someone else's story saved me because it killed the isolation. Addiction thrives in secrecy, in silence, in the belief that nobody understands, that you're alone in this. You're not. You're one of millions. And the moment you realize that, the addiction loses one of its most powerful weapons. The second thing that helped me stop was banning myself. Most people don't know you can do this. I didn't. Bill told me about it at my 3rd meeting. Every state has a voluntary exclusion program. You walk into the casino, you go to the security office, you fill out a form, and you ban yourself. They take your picture, they put you in a database, and if you walk back in, they escort you out. Some states it's a misdemeanor. You can actually get arrested for entering a casino you've banned yourself from. I did it the week after my first meeting. I drove to every casino within 100 miles, 3 of them, walked into each one, went to security, and signed the papers. The woman at the first casino looked at me and said, "Are you sure? This is a 5-year ban. You can't undo it." I said, "Make it lifetime." She said, "They don't do lifetime in this state." I said, "Then I'll be back in 5 years to sign it again." Walking out of that last casino, knowing I couldn't walk back in, was the strangest feeling. Relief mixed with panic. Like jumping off a ledge and not knowing if there's water below. My brain was screaming at me, "What have you done? What if you need this? What if things get bad and you need somewhere to go?" That voice, that's the addiction talking. And the ban was the first time I'd done something that voice couldn't argue with. Willpower can be overridden. A promise to yourself can be broken. But a legal ban with your photo in a security database? That's a wall. And sometimes you need a wall between you and the thing that's killing you. About 2 months after the ban, I tested it. I'm ashamed to admit that, but it's the truth. I'd had a terrible day, fight with my landlord, a bill I couldn't pay. The itch was screaming. I drove to the casino, told myself I'd just sit in the parking lot, just be near it. That's another lie addiction tells you. Just be near it. I walked to the door. A security guard stopped me before I got inside. "Sir, you're on the exclusion list. I can't let you in." I stood there. Part of me was furious. Part of me was humiliated. And a small part, the part that was still sane, was grateful. The wall worked. The wall I'd built when I was thinking clearly stopped me when I wasn't. That's why the ban matters. You make the decision when you're strong so it holds when you're weak. I also banned myself from every online gambling site I'd ever used. This part is critical because online gambling is a casino in your pocket. It's there at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep. It's there during your lunch break. It's there when you're bored, angry, lonely, stressed. There's no security guard, no exclusion list, just your thumb and a screen. I changed my passwords to random strings I didn't memorize, had Rachel change my email password so I couldn't do resets, deleted the apps, blocked the sites on my phone, called my bank and put restrictions on online transactions to gambling merchants. Every avenue, every access point, I scorched the earth, because I knew myself. I knew that at 2 in the morning, when the itch was bad, I would find a way back in if there was a way to find. So I eliminated every way. The third thing that helped me stop was a sponsor. Bill became my sponsor. That's a GA thing. Someone who's been through it. Someone you can call when the urge hits. Someone who's been where you are and came out the other side. Bill gave me his phone number that first night. He said, "Call me anytime. 3 in the morning, Christmas Day. I don't care. If you want to gamble, you call me first." I called him 47 times in the first 3 months. I counted. 47 times. Sometimes at midnight. Sometimes at 6 in the morning. Sometimes I'd be driving past the highway exit that leads to the casino, and I'd feel my hands pulling the wheel, and I'd call him. He always answered. Always. And he never told me what to do. He just talked. About his day. About the weather. About a book he was reading. About nothing. And by the time we hung up, the urge had passed. Not because he'd said anything profound, because he'd filled the space. He'd occupied the 15-20 minutes where my brain was trying to convince me to gamble. And by the time those minutes were over, the wave had passed. That's something nobody tells you about cravings. They don't last. They feel like they'll last forever. They feel like the urge will eat you alive if you don't feed it. But if you can ride it out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it passes. It always passes. The trick is having something, someone, to hold on to during those 20 minutes. Bill was that for me. And I wouldn't be sitting here today without him. Bill died 2 years ago, heart attack, 79 years old. I spoke at his funeral, told the room he saved my life. His daughter came up to me after and said, "He talked about you all the time. He was proud of you." I couldn't speak, just nodded, held her hand, and walked out of that church knowing I owed everything I have left to a man I met in a basement on a Thursday night. The fourth thing that helped me stop was replacing the rush. This is the one nobody wants to hear, because it's not exciting, it's not dramatic, it's boring. And that's the point. Gambling gave me something. I've never denied that. It gave me a rush, an escape, a feeling of being alive that nothing else in my daily life provided. And when I took that away, there was a hole, a massive, gaping hole where the excitement used to be. And if you don't fill that hole with something, you will fill it with gambling again. Guaranteed. For me, it was three things: woodworking, walking, and cooking. I know. A 61-year-old man in a one-bedroom apartment teaching himself to make birdhouses in Chile. Not exactly a blockbuster story, but that's what saved me. The woodworking gave me something to do with my hands, something that required focus, something where I could see a result at the end. I'd go to the hardware store, buy some cheap lumber, bring it back to my apartment and build something. A shelf, a box, a birdhouse. Nothing fancy. But the process of measuring, cutting, sanding, assembling, it occupied my brain the same way the casino used to. Not the same rush, not even close, but the same occupation, the same filling of time and mental space that kept the itch at bay. The walking was for the anxiety. When you quit gambling, the anxiety is brutal. Your body is used to constant adrenaline spikes. Take those away, and you're left with this restless, buzzing, crawling out of your skin energy. Walking burned that off. I'd walk for an hour, 2 hours sometimes. No headphones, no music, just walking and breathing and letting the anxiety drain out through my feet. It sounds stupid. It's not. It works. The cooking was for the loneliness. When you're an addict, you don't eat well. You eat fast. You eat cheap. You eat whatever's close to the casino. For 18 years, food was just fuel between bets. When I stopped gambling, I started actually tasting things again. I bought a used cookbook from a thrift store, started making real meals, nothing fancy, soup, pasta, chili, meatloaf. But the process of chopping vegetables and stirring a pot and setting a table for one, it gave me something that felt like care, like I was taking care of myself for the first time in 2 decades. None of these things feel like enough when you're in the grip of it. I know that. When your brain is screaming for the casino, building a birdhouse sounds like a joke. But it's not a joke. It's a brick. And recovery is built one brick at a time. Boring, ordinary, unglamorous bricks that slowly build a life that doesn't need the rush to feel worth living. The fifth thing that helped me stop was telling the truth. This was the hardest one. Harder than the ban, harder than the meetings, harder than the cravings at 2 in the morning. Because for 18 years my entire life was built on lies. Lies to Linda, lies to Danny, lies to Rachel, lies to my brother, lies to my friends, lies to myself. I had constructed an entire false version of my life, and I'd been living inside it like a house made of cards. The truth meant tearing that house down, all of it, every card. I started with Rachel, because she was the safest. I sat her down at my kitchen table and told her everything. Not the summary, not the highlights, everything. How much I'd lost, how long it had been going on, the credit cards, the home equity loan, the P.O. box, the lies I'd told her mother, the lies I'd told her. Every birthday party I missed because I was at the casino. Every time I said I was working late. Everything. She cried, not loudly, quietly, just tears rolling down her face while she listened. When I finished, she said, "Dad, I knew most of it, not the details, but I knew something was wrong. I always knew." And then she said something that changed my life. She said, "Thank you for finally telling me the truth. That's all I ever wanted." That's all she ever wanted. Not my money, not my time, not even my sobriety. The truth. That's what my daughter had been waiting for years, and I'd been too much of a coward to give it to her. I told Greg next, my brother. He was angrier. He had a right to be. I'd lied to his face and taken his money. But after a long conversation and a lot of silence, he said, "I forgive you, but don't ever lie to me again." I haven't. I wrote Danny a letter. because he wasn't taking my calls. I wrote everything down, 4 pages, handwritten, told him everything I'd told Rachel and more, told him I understood why he said what he said, told him he was right, told him I was getting help, told him I wasn't asking for forgiveness, just wanted him to know the truth. He didn't respond for 6 months. When he finally called, all he said was, "Can we get coffee?" That coffee was the beginning of getting my son back, and it started with a letter that told the truth. The truth does something that nothing else can. It removes the weight. For 18 years I was carrying the lies around like bricks on my back. Every lie added another one, and over time the weight of them was crushing me. The gambling was bad, but the lying was worse, because the lying isolated me from every person who could have helped. And when I finally put the bricks down, when I told the truth to the people who mattered, I could breathe for the first time in almost 2 decades. So there they are, the 5 things. Someone else's story, a physical ban, a sponsor, replacing the rush, and telling the truth. They're not glamorous. There's no magic pill, no secret technique, no one weird trick. It's work. Ugly, boring, uncomfortable work. And it takes time. The first year was miserable. The second year was hard. The third year was manageable. By year 4, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in 20 years. Normal. Not happy, not fixed. Just normal. And after everything I'd been through, normal felt like a miracle. I'm 68 years old, 7 years clean. I still go to meetings every Thursday. I have a new sponsor since Bill passed. I still build things in my apartment. I still walk every morning. I still cook my own meals. And I still tell the truth. Every day. To everyone. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. If you're trying to quit and nothing's working, try these 5 things. Not all at once. Start with 1. Go to a meeting. Just go. Sit in the back. Don't say anything. Just listen. And when you hear your own story coming out of someone else's mouth, you'll know you're in the right place. If this story helped you, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Tell me which of the 5 you're going to try first. And if you're still in it, if you're still gambling and you can't find the way out is in a room full of people who've been exactly where you are. I promise you that, because that's where I found mine.